From KAMR Local 4 News, your local election headquarters, this is Politics Today.
We are looking at the increase in early voting compared to similar years.
And we'll take a look at some of the biggest races in this primary, including some that are being monitored beyond the Lone Star State.
Good evening and welcome to Politics Today Live. Usually, we would see you on Sunday morning.
But the March primary election day is here, and we've got plenty of interesting races to cover. So let's go ahead and start with voting.
Yeah, across the state, counties are reporting higher than normal early voting numbers. Traditionally, the midterms have a lower voter turnout.
And let's go ahead and head out live to Politics Today's Maya Clark. Maya, good evening. What do early voting numbers look like in Potter and Randall counties?
Good evening, Maury and Andy. We spoke to Randall County Election Administrator Shannon Lackey, and she said throughout the early voting period, they had a significant increase in early voter turnout. In Randall County, 14,000 people, 354 people voted early, compared to 2024, where about 10,000 people voted early. Now, records show that Randall County sent out about 1,400 mail-in ballots, and they received just over 1,000 mail-in ballots back as of March 3rd. In Potter County, about 5,000 people voted early, and their records showed that they had about 715 people do their mail-in, 735 people rather, request mail-in ballots, and they had about 500 mail-in ballots received, compared to in Potter County, where in 2024, they had about 4,000 people voting early, so an increase there as well, with 5,000 people voting early in Potter County. Shannon Lackey with Randall County Elections Administrator says that they have more voters registered this year, and that she does anticipate that these high voter turnout numbers will continue as they head into November with that election as well. But today at the Randall County Annex, there has been a steady flow of voters coming in and out. There's currently still a line as we get closer to 7 o'clock, and people can get in line and can still vote if they're in line at 7 o'clock, as long as they have all the proper documents. Live at the Randall County Annex, Maya Clark, Politics Today. Andy, Maury.
Maya, thank you.
Thank you. Let's go ahead and take a look at some of the races that we're going to be following tonight.
And let's go ahead and start in U.S. Representative for District 13. This is the seat held by Representative Ronnie Jackson. In 2024, Jackson didn't face an opponent in the primary or general election.
He faced no opponent in the 2022 primary, but he did face a Democrat in the general. This time around, he's going up against Chastity Wedgeworth in the primary. Heading now to U.S. District Representative for 19. District 19, a crowded field looking to take Jody Arrington's spot. He chose not to run again. There are some of the names that you have seen on the ballot, and we'll continue to track that one this evening.
Heading to State Representative for District 86, this is John Smithy's seat, who isn't seeking re-election. We have Jamie Haynes and Holly Jeffries running for State Rep in District 86.
One of the most looked at races for this area is Texas State Representative District 86, and for good reason. After Texas Representative John Smithy, who had been in that spot for a very long time, announced that he was going to be stepping down from his position in Austin and chose not to run again.
KAMR Local 4's Princess Bryant breaks down the race for us, and she joins us now live in studio with more. Good evening, Princess.
Good evening, Mari and Andy. This is a big race indeed, following the Republican candidates Holly Jeffries and Jamie Haynes. Both candidates working in politics for years, but only one, Jeffries, being endorsed by current District 86 Representative John Smithy. John Smithy has been in Austin for over 40 years, working on a number of different projects, most recently fighting to reopen the Panhandle Plains Historical Museum. A few of the topics Jeffries plans to run on include keeping Panhandle water in the Panhandle and eliminate school property taxes. Haynes also plans to secure water for the Panhandle along with protecting property rights. Both candidates talked a little bit more about their run before the polls closed earlier.
Get elected, my priorities would be with the district first. So I would just go around and try to meet with everybody in the district that's a player, like education, law enforcement, Texas cattle feeders, all the different groups, anybody who wants to meet, prioritize the issues. And then also we will find out what the legislative priorities are going to be at the Republican convention in June.
The most important things are taxes, decreasing taxes so people aren't taxed out of their home, right? And so working with Lieutenant Governor on the 65 to 55 and lowering that age to freeze taxes, that's a great start. As well as looking at water issues here in the Texas Panhandle, and then just making sure parents still feel great about being the ones who, you know, direct their kids' education and health care and all those decision-making things.
Jeffries asked that she wants to continue the work that Smithy has already laid out and protect private property routes. Haynes asked that although Jeffries is backed by Smithy, she has a number of different endorsements and the Panhandle is behind her. Live in studio, Princess Bryant, KMR Local 4 News. Andy, Mari.
All right, Princess, thank you. We'll continue to follow that race throughout the night.
Now let's take a look at a few other races to watch tonight. Also in this area is State Representative for District 88. That seat is currently held by Ken King.
King was first elected to that seat back in 2013. He's taking on John Browning. Heading now to two of the most watched races, and not just in the state of Texas, but from outside of Texas as well.
And we're talking about the Senate seats for the GOP and Democrats. This is being called Senator John Cornyn's toughest race since being elected. We have many candidates in this race, including Ken Paxton and Wesley Hunt. If this race results in a runoff, the runoff election will be on Tuesday, May 26th.
And also interesting on the Democratic side, that's where Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett going up against State Rep James Tallarico here in Texas. Collecting taxes, writing checks, and predicting the state's revenue.
Those are the main jobs for the Texas Comptroller. We'll see which candidates are looking to take on that responsibility up next.
Welcome back to Politics Today. The Comptroller of Texas is the state's top accountant. A professor even went so far as to call the office, and I'm quoting here, boring.
Kelly Hancock has been the acting controller after Glenn Hagar left to be the chancellor of the Texas A&M University system. Hancock is going against Christy Craddock, Michael Berlanga, and Don Huffines. A majority of these candidates want to use the office to audit more, trying to weed out what they call waste, fraud, and abuse. Whoever wins will take on the winner of the Democrat side, Michael Lang, Sarah Eckhart, and Savant Moore. Eckhart is a current state senator. Moore is a trustee of the Houston School District, and Lang is a finance professional. Of course, we also have Ag Commissioner incumbent Sid Miller looking to serve another term. He was just endorsed by President Donald Trump, who also announced this week he's received threats for his social media posts regarding the deadly shooting in Austin. Nate Sheets was endorsed by Governor Greg Abbott. The Potter County Commissioner's Court will have a busier schedule in these upcoming years. We've covered this story extensively. They have a jail that needs either an expansion or rebuilding. And they also have a $400,000 budget problem. So we start on the GOP side. Incumbent Blair Schaefer looking to serve another term. He's running against Jeff Rafe. On the Democrat side, we've got incumbent Warren Coble going up against Timothy Gassaway. While voters are deciding who could lead Potter County on the Commissioner's Court, those elected will soon face some of those major financial decisions. Among them, the future of the county jail and how to deal with a recent revenue shortfall. Politics Today's Blas Guerrero explains why those issues are getting attention. He joins us from Trinity Baptist Church. Blas?
Andy, Mari, two Potter County Commissioner Court seats are on the ballot today's primary election, positions that play a major role in shaping the county budget and long-term priorities. In Precinct 2, Republican voters are deciding between incumbent Blair Schaefer and challenger Jeff Rayoff. In Precinct 4, Democratic voters are choosing between incumbent Warren Coble and challenger Timothy Gassaway. On the Republican side of that precinct, Jose Perez is seeking the nomination. The Commissioner's Courts oversee major county spending decisions, including discussions about the aging Potter County Jail and possible long-term solutions to address the overcrowding. The court has also been dealing with a roughly $400,000 revenue shortfall tied to a tax appraisal clinical error, putting financial oversight and spending decisions in the spotlight this election cycle. At the same time, county leaders have said they are now evaluating how to make up that lost revenue, including a potential adjustments to the budget or tax rate in the future. At Trinity Baptist Church, Blas Guerrero, KMOR Local 4 News. Andy Mari.
Blas, thank you. The commissioners elected this year will help guide future spending decisions for Potter County.
This will include how leaders move forward with jail planning and balancing the county's budget.
Up next, there are a number of propositions on the ballot this year.
But they won't impact your life just yet. Details on what they're used for up next. The primary election has a number of races, no matter which party you're casting a ballot for.
On each ballot is anywhere between 10 and 13 propositions, but these won't impact your life yet. Princess Bryan explains.
Once you are done on voting who you would like to see representing your political party on the ballot in November, at the end there will be a chance to also vote on propositions from your party. Propositions like should Texas enact term limits on elected officials for the Republican Party ballot, and should Texas suspend Medicaid listed on the Democratic Party ballot.
Parties have the opportunity to put on what they see as pressing issues, political issues, social issues that they want to probably address in their platforms. They're just really opinion polls, public opinion polls, and they'll use that information, and the questions are all written in such a way that they're all going to pass.
Dr. Roush explains that voters may see this poll being used as we approach November elections, and their party using the topics during their campaign run. Aaron Favor, Amarillo College Social Sciences Assistant Professor, speaks more on why the primary elections are important.
We have a representative form of government, and our Constitution allows for us to have as much citizen engagement as possible. So it's vital for the government.
Dr. Rouse says while these propositions are just a poll for each party, propositions are still very important and something voters should pay attention to.
Really, the propositions that matter the most are the ones we vote on every 2 years for the Constitution. Those matter because if we vote yes, then they get in the Constitution. If we vote no, they don't.
We've had several that have been propositions over the years that end up making it onto the general ballot and become constitutional amendments, particularly, of course, in the state of Texas.
So with that in mind, we're going to dive into some of the props on each ballot.
This is the GOP side. Prop 1 gauges if property taxes should be assessed at the purchase price and phased out over the next 6 years through spending reductions. Prop 2 asks if Texas should require any local government budget that raises property taxes to be approved by voters at the November election.
Prop 6 asks if Texas should enact term limits on all elected officials.
And Prop 9 asks if the Republican-controlled legislature should stop giving leadership roles to Democrats. Lawmakers in the last session did a version of this in that they passed legislation to prevent the minority party from holding committee chair positions. Now to the Democrat side of the ballot with a few of those props.
Now, Prop 1 asks if Texas should expand Medicaid and ensure access to affordable health care for all.
Prop 2 asks if Texans should support humane and dignified immigration policies and pathways to citizenship.
Prop 5 asks if Texas should fund all public schools at the same per pupil rate as the national average. And Prop 8 asks if Texas should legalize cannabis for adults and automatically expunge criminal records for past low-level cannabis offenses. Once again, these are just some of the issues that they're trying to come up with their party plan, and that is some of the things that we could see focused on in future elections, but they are non-binding.
And we'll wrap up politics today after the break. In terms of midterm elections, this time around has some predictable moments and candidates and then some that are making waves across the state and country.
Politics Today's Jack Kessler sat down with the political expert to talk about some of the issues on these ballots.
Now, I want to kind of pinpoint a local office, House District 86. That's a seat that's been held for over 40 years by John Smithy. So tell me a little bit about kind of that seat and kind of how, when you have a seat that's held for so long, when you have two primary contenders going for that seat. Can you tell me a little bit about that?
Certainly. Well, it's been a seat held by the Republican Party for that amount of time. Representative Smithy is known around the state. He's been around the block, so to speak. He knows the issues of our region, really, really well. Obviously, been a significant contributor to state policy for that entire period of time. It's just it's a tremendous amount of experience that you lose, institutional experience and individual experience that you lose whenever someone like that chooses to not run again. It's also an opportunity, for this specific district to have a fresh voice, if you will, and so it's not surprising to find there to be fierce competition around that seat, because what is it that voters are looking for? They're looking for another type of person that's a steady as she goes candidate like Smithy, and so it's a hotly contested race. That one is. It's drawn a lot of certainly a lot of direct mail. I've gotten a lot of direct mail over this, 20, 30, I feel like a week, and so there's a lot of money being spent there. It's not cheap to do that, but also obviously there's a lot of competing interests, and trying to figure out exactly what that means, and in the shadow of John Smithy is going to be something that whoever ends up winning is going to have to deal with over the next 15, 20 years.
And so I kind of want to expand out to a state race that's been on both sides, Republican and Democrat, the Senate race. So tell me a little bit about what we're seeing when it comes to the Republican side and the Democratic side on that Senate race.
That's a really good question. So the Senate race, you're talking about the U.S. Senate?
Yes.
Okay. Just make sure the fundraising is always the thing that always catches my eye with the Senate, the U.S. Senate, because there's so much money changing hands. We have two candidates really in the Democratic primary vying for that spot, the coveted spot at the national level in November, and that has been a very it's been a tough fight. I think that Tallarico is probably the person that ended up having the most money of the two candidates, and some of that has to do with his backing, the type of fundraising that he's been doing, and the type of money that they're trying to get the attention of, right? The donor base. But he kind of reminds me in a lot of ways of, and this is not by surprise, somebody like Beto O'Rourke, mainly because of the grassroots of the campaign. That's not saying anything about negative about his opposition, except to say that there have fundamentally different ways of campaigning. You know what I mean? And it's really difficult too. Like the Democratic primary right now, just like the Republican primary, you're trying to eke out and compare and contrast among views that are largely the same. The party platform is largely the same. In November, they'll have to move toward the center of their party in order to be able to carry the general vote among the party. So yeah, there's the populist element of it, and then there's the hardline primary element of this, and it's always kind of like a monkey dancing on a razor blade, trying to figure out which one is which, and which one is which one's going to play well with your electorate. And the Republicans have also had a very difficult primary. John Cornyn being challenged by none other than I'm sorry, none other than our current Attorney General, and that's going to be something that's drawn a lot of controversy, competition, based on some of the background, I suppose. Senator Cornyn is seen as the kind of the older establishment, Republican in office who has maybe the competitive advantage, if you will, of the Republican base, and is seen as that. Whereas it's not necessarily that easy, you know, for his competitor. And I think the main goal for him has been to just be able to stir it up, right? I mean, to mix the pot a little, and by doing that, you know, what are the benefits of doing that? The benefit is that whoever wins, is there going to be a shaker and a mover once they get to the Senate, whether Democrats or Republicans?
A big thank you to Amarillo College. We reached out to get Aaron back on the broadcast again, and they're always so generous with their time, and he does a great job over at Amarillo College.
Yes, thank you, Aaron and Jack. And we have we just have like 4 minutes left until polls close now.
That's right. But if you're in line right now, stay there. Your vote will be counted, and it will count. We've been following some early voting numbers soon after 7, so make sure you stay for that. Randall County Judge County Court at Law number 1 on the GOP side. This is this has garnered a lot of attention locally. This is one of the races that we are going to be following tonight as well. Texas Governor Greg Abbott has been in office for more than 10 years now. He's looking to secure another term.
And this one is a very crowded field. All indications are that Abbott will win this race tonight. And now let's get over to the Democratic side of things on this race. So polling shows that Gina Hinojosa is the leader in this race, and Andrew White, while on the ballot, dropped out and threw his support into Hinojosa. Currently in his 3rd term, Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick is looking to secure a 4th term in November.
This doesn't appear, I mean, there's, again, a crowded field in all of these races.
Correct,
on that state level. We'll continue to follow it and see if Dan Patrick can hold on to win again. Polls closing here in just a bit. Now to the Democratic side. These are some of the contestants that are looking to pick up the Democratic primary to make a showing in the general election in November.
And the best thing to do is to follow us on social media or head to our website. We'll have the continuing coverage and up-to-date results as they come in. Also, if you haven't, we have a new app, the Kmart Plus app, where we'll have more coverage on that as well.
And we want you to stay tuned on air and online, because as soon as these numbers start to pour in, it closes. We typically start seeing those early numbers around 7:30 to 8:15. We'll get those. We'll pass along those on air and online as soon as we get it. So definitely stay tuned. We'll wrap everything up tonight at 10 with the final results, and then we'll see you back here for Politics Today on Sunday morning after Meet the Press.
See you then.